What's going on, Jeromes? So yes, the Minnesota Vikings are 12-2, and it certainly is nice to be talking about how ways the Vikings can get the 1 seed, have the NFC run through US Bank Stadium, random mouse sounding the Gallahorn for the NFC title game. Skull. That's right. The Vikings win the Super Bowl down in New Orleans, exercising the demons. It's nice to be talking about that versus,
well, if the Vikings lose the next couple of games, they can improve their draft position.
Screw that noise. But draft season never sleeps, as Kwesi, adofo-mensah, and the Vikings scouting department. I mean, most of the work is done. College football season in the books, but then you get into draft season with the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, NFLPA Bowl, Combine, Pro Days, all that stuff. And we start the damn thing over again. And Kwesi, so I know that Kwesi's gotten a lot of poop for his drafts, but Will Rockard is an absolute stud. And also you have J.J. McCarthy, future franchise quarterback, Diamond Dallas Turner, looking like he's going to be a little something on the edge. Just give him a little time. All right. Oh, but what about Jared Verse? Jared Verse is 3 years older than Dallas Turner. We repeat ad nauseum, right? But long story longer, taking a look at the 2025 NFL draft. PFF has updated their mock draft simulator, which is fantastic. Right now, the draft order is, well, right now, it's Raiders, Giants, Patriots, etc. It's almost like, so, you know when the Powerball gets huge, right? And then when it gets hit, and then it goes down. It's almost like winning. Actually, go for 5 would be a better one. It's like winning the go for 5 when it's at the lowest number, where it's like, oh, cool, I got $500,000. Could have been 20 or something like that. I don't know. I don't really play the lottery. But so the Vikings are looking at their draft picks. They currently own their first and also a couple fifths and seventh. Remember, they get 7th from Pittsburgh for the Jesse Davis trade from a couple years ago. And also are projected to have a 3rd round compensatory pick. Now, that could change depending on the proprietary algorithm and formula, whatever. But Vikings will get some nice. Also, if the tag and trade is in place for Darnold, certainly we'll get something there. Now, of course, draft needs change depending on what happens in free agency. But as of right now, you're probably looking at interior offensive line, interior defensive line, running back, cornerback. So the standard issue stuff. So now the Vikings slated at 28, just for schnitz and giggles. All right, so they have the Chiefs listed at 32, whatever. So the Vikings trading, getting back to 32, because we know that's what's going to happen. All right, so start the draft, enhance. So we're only going to run a 1-rounder, and then we're going to talk about Vikings 7-round options in a second. But we just want to see, zoom in and enhance. All right, just want to see what happened in this draft so far. I can't get a good view. It doesn't matter. This is a really good pod. Anyways, up at the top, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward go 1-2 to the Raiders and Giants respectively. I think Shedeur in Vegas makes sense. Cam Ward, I think, could be the savior with the Giants. We'll see. McMillan, I like that with Drake May. Just throw it up. And McMillan, who's literally a pterodactyl. He's got the wingspan of a jumbo jet. I like it a lot. Will Johnson is a great pickup for Jacksonville. Abdul Carter. I really like Abdul Carter, man. So is he going to a little bit of Micah adjacent, and not just like the Penn State connection, but a guy that started off as an off ball that got to the edge, which is great. Travis Hunter. Oh, I didn't even dawn on me that Travis Hunter was the second quarterback taken. But him going to Tennessee, I don't know. Like, I feel like Deion won't let Travis Hunter go to Tennessee. I feel like they're gonna pull Eli Manning and get him somewhere else. Burden the third, going to Cleveland. I kind of like that as the long-term Amari Cooper replacement. Him and Judy could do some nice things together. Judith. The Jets get Mason Graham. I mean, it's kind of interesting that a lot of draft comps of Mason Graham are to Quinnen Williams, and now they're together. Malachi Starks going to the Bears. I mean, I don't know, like, if it doesn't start and end with offensive line, like Will Campbell here would make a ton of sense. Kelvin Banks would make a ton of sense for the Bears versus, I don't know, safety. Sure. Campbell, Banks, like we said, Jelon Walker, Kenneth Grant, Michael Williams. Starts getting in there. Probably going to have to reduce inside the guard, which is great. Shamar Stewart is going to be a stud. Buka, just Ohio State is wide receiver U. And say Slinging Sammy Darnold gets the Rams. Well, they wouldn't have this pick, first of all, because that would be included in the tag and trade. But I kind of like that. Amari and Hampton. Oh, well, hold on. All right, so Genty with the Saints. I just completely space cadetted that one. Well, yeah, they did sign. They did extend Kamara long term, except he's definitely getting up there in age. They could be a nice 1-2 combination for a while. And then you have Loveland going to the Broncos. Cameron Williams, the other Texas tackle, going to Baltimore. I don't know what it is. Like, Baltimore's always drafted the back of the pack, and they always just get things done. Ooh. John Judkins, formerly at Ole Miss and now of Ohio State. I kind of like that with the Texans. I think that his no-nonsense style really fits in with what they want to do offensively. And also, I mean, maybe they roll Mixon for another year on his contract, but we'll see. Caleb Johnson goes to the Chiefs, kind of stinks. Benjamin Morrison. Tyler Warren, Trey Amos would have been a great pick for the Vikings, but he ends up going to Detroit at 31. Oh, the Vikings beat the Lions in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So according to this, it'd be like, the Vikings beat the Bills, since they're the highest or the lowest AFC team. But we'll certainly take that. But even at 32, I mean, the board is actually looking pretty good. So you got James Pierce Jr. coming off the edge. You got Siobhan Ravel, who's coming off that ACL, except has big-time talent. TJ Sanders, the guy that we love a lot as well. Overton. I mean, this is going to be – it's interesting because this draft is almost tailor-made for the Vikings doing well this year, because what the Vikings need, defensive line, interior offensive line, cornerback, running back. I mean, this draft has that in space. Landon Jackson's going to be a monster. And, of course, there's going to be a lot of shifting with the big boards as we get into draft season. But also you look at, Jihad Campbell. We could corner the market on Jihads if we bring Hadi Ward back, which would be fantastic. Jack Sawyer, I've said this. I'm kind of out on Jack Sawyer just because of how he handled himself at the end of the Michigan game. Complaining about Michigan planting the flag. Stop him. Jack Sawyer never beat Michigan. And I'm not even a Michigan fan. Milroe, I think that Milroe would be a first-round pick if he declared. Restrepo, I really like Restrepo, except it doesn't make a ton of sense right now for the Vikings. But I think Restrepo is going to be a stud in this league. And Tyler Booker would be fantastic looking in purple as well. Isaiah Bond is going to be a great player somewhere out there. I mean, it's not a... this is seen as a down draft because you don't have like the sexy up at the top. You got a couple nice quarterbacks with Shador and Cam Ward, but not franchise-changing pile drivers that you want. There isn't like elite edge talent in this draft. There isn't like eye-popping talent outside of Travis Hunter, which is going to be interesting. But I don't like in terms of like a really good meat and potatoes draft. I mean, this is perfectly suited for the Vikings. So in this situation, we would take TJ Sanders, although Pierce and Ravel. I mean, I understand Pierce, why are you taking another edge? You can never have enough dudes who can get the quarterback. Also with PJ2 likely leaving, also up in there what happens with Hadi Ward. Plus, Grenard and AVG, especially AVG. I mean, they're not the youngest players in the league. You know what I mean? Well, Grenard is fine, but AVG's quickly going to be on the wrong side of 30. But for the Vikings, we went through TJ Sanders, DJ Giddens, Denzel Burke, Jake Majors, and Emmanuel Pregron. So, I mean, obviously draft needs change depending on what happens with free agency, who you bring back from your own team, who you sign in open free agency. But, I mean, I wouldn't be upset with this. Right. Just, of course, this is extremely early. I mean, the bowl playoffs haven't even started yet. And, of course, draft season has not kicked off in earnest as of yet. But just based off college production and college tape, I mean, I kind of like that. So TJ Sanders, who we talked about on Thursday, quick penetration, pass rush. I think that right now he gets by on physical tools. I think that he definitely could develop a lot more and mature as a pass rusher. Also, stepping up as a run defender as well. But 32 pressures, 4 sacks this season, 24 run stops. I think that back end of the first round, just getting an absolute dog on the defensive line. It's great. In third round, the compensatory pick, DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. I really like Giddens, and I feel like there's a lot of conversation about the the running backs this year. Caleb Johnson, Genty, obviously, Hampton, etc. But Giddens should be up in there too. 6'1", 212, a bit of an upright, smooth glider. Running style wise, like a little Robert Smith, a little Raheem Mostert mixed in there too. but 1,601 yards from scrimmage, 8 touchdowns this season. He had more production as a sophomore last year. And Giddens, if you want to make free money, just bet the total yards over for Giddens every single game, because he surpassed it by like halftime, right? And does need to work on pass protection, but Giddens overall could certainly be a contributor early on for the Vikings, especially what happens at running back. Like, do they bring back Aaron Jones? Do they go out and try and sign someone in free agency? Najee Harris potentially? We'll see. Denzel Burke is interesting. Getting him in the 5th round would be huge value. I think he goes a lot sooner, but 6'1", $193, long, lanky, physical, would be perfect for what Flores wants to do if Flores is back. 4-year starter for Ohio State, mix of safety and outside corner, career 28 passes broken up, 4 picks, can play press man, can play on, off, great run defender as well, super aggressive, maybe too aggressive. He does gamble at times. He will give up a big play a time or two, as we saw this year, but he's going to try and make that big play, right? So he wants to get a home run every single time, and coaching-wise, you don't want to take out too much aggressiveness, but you do want him to understand that it's okay to settle for singles and doubles every now and then. Also in the 5th round, Jake Majors is a center that I love a lot. I think that he could be tailor-made to replace Garrett Bradbury. 6'3", 315, 4-year starter at the pivot for the Longhorns, 85.4 PFF pass blocking grade this season. One sack allowed in 4 seasons in Austin, and that was his sophomore season 3 years ago. Smart, tough, great leader, and I think that he'll slide in right away as a starter. I think that he might be a little bit too low. Actually, I think all these guys are going to go a little bit sooner than we were able to get them in the simulation. Then the 7th round, Emmanuel Pergron, the pride of USC. I think that he could be an earlier day 3 selection after testing is done, but he's 6'5", 320, just a mountain. Just a freaking mountain, man. 2-year starter at left guard for USC. Also TBD if he's going to declare, but ideally he would. Spent his freshman season at Wyoming and then transferred to the men of Troy. Did not allow a sack in 2 seasons out in L.A. He's got size. He's got physicality. He's scheme agnostic. Like, he wouldn't be a liability in outside zone. He would be fantastic in gap. I think that Majors and Pergron potentially could be 2 future stars. Well, Majors for sure. Pergron could work his way up in the guard competition as well. But like we said, obviously things change, depending on what happens with your own free agency and open free agency. But I mean, this wouldn't be terrible. Just shooting from the hip, I would not mind this draft at all. But, well, of course I say that because I did it. But your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings mock draft, Kwesi cooking back again. I love it. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, comment section. You guys know what to do. Skull production value.